I never have seen your whole story told.
I've never told it.
What happened to you was wild.
What am I doing and where am I going?
Do you have context of him and who he was and what he was doing?
I had no idea that he was even married.
Stop.
He flew in the next day and proposed.
Looking back, what is that like?
I felt like I was in jail at that point. And I remember the first thing I thought was, I could breathe.
I was just telling Jennifer that I have been following you since the inception of your blog, which was when?
2010.
2010. So why I was so attracted to you at the time is I had just launched my blog and there was no bloggers online who were actually being very, very transparent. Like I felt like everyone was like sharing their nail polish color and what shoes they were wearing. And when I found your blog, you were like one of the first people I had ever seen talk about plastic surgery, your pregnancies, preeclampsia, like all these different things that no one was talking about.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. People said my blog was like a train wreck, but it was just it was everything that was going on in my life just put into words and photos. And it was awesome. I candidly wanted to share my life because I felt like I was brought into this lifestyle at age 24 that was like so unusual. You know, I grew up at home in New York and I was engaged at 24, moved to Beverly Hills of all places, 90210. And I was in this like huge lifestyle all of a sudden. I was like, I'm going to share this. I'm going to share what all the celebrities are doing and I'm going to put it out there so everybody knows. I'm such like a girl's girl. Like I love just sharing that stuff and having that like community feeling. So
I remember you like even showed us, like you told us how much you weighed, how you maintained your weight. It was just like very, very different than anything out there. There was nothing like it at the time. I guess to start this podcast off, I would love to get context of you before you were 24 living in Beverly Hills. What was your childhood like? You grew up in New Jersey, right?
New York.
New York.
Westchester, New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
So grew up in Westchester, New York, had lots of friends, typical middle class sort of upbringing. My parents got divorced when I was 13, lived with my mom and worked since I was 14, had jobs, all the things. I was working in hair and doing makeup and stuff. And then I started modeling and joined some agencies in Manhattan and that kind of took off. So I did a year of college for fashion design and then put that on hold to concentrate on like the modeling and stuff.
So what point do you meet someone living in Beverly Hills? How does that even transpire?
So I met my ex through a mutual friend. I was downtown in like Uggs, a t-shirt, leggings, and I was buying material because at the time I wanted to start a swimwear line. And so he was having lunch with the photographer that I was friends with. So he said that, hey, I'm downtown, like I'm in between Florida and New York. Why don't you come meet me for lunch? I'm just finishing up a meeting with a client. And the client ended up being the man that became the father of my children.
Looking back now in retrospect, he was obviously older than you. You're 24. Was he like in love with you when he first saw you? Was he like, oh my God, that's going to be my wife? Like, what is it like being you now looking at 24-year-old you?
So it was really crazy. When I met him, I automatically looked at him and was like, this is the man that I'm going to marry. And I remember in my mind being like, don't be so freaking dumb. Like I just got out of a 3-year relationship. And like another relationship with somebody I didn't know was the last thing like on my mind. But I just had this gut feeling. And so I gave him my email of all things. Like I didn't even want to give him my phone number because I had just gotten out of a relationship and I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And he was going back to London. Like he was just there for work. And so I gave him my email. We kept in touch. And then I remember like a week or two later, he told me that he just left his wife. I had no idea that he was even married. So
what happens? You're 24 years old. You like that's young. I remember me at 24, like I knew nothing.
Yeah. I feel like I don't even know what I feel like looking back because my son now is 11. So to think in like a few more years, like 12 or so years, that would be him getting engaged. That's young, you know? And so I remember so we met and he ended up flying back a month later. I was working some shoe thing for Prada, Miu Miu. I did like their I don't even know what it's called, their try-on thing for market in Manhattan. So he came and we met and we dated. But I remember telling him like, I'm going to take the summer off. Like I need 4 months to myself as a 24-year-old girl to like see what it's like life as an adult. And so we kept in touch, and he would fly in and like surprise me from London and like give me a gift and then like leave. And like it was just such like a big world and things that I was getting brought into. And I was like, but I'm not quite mentally ready there yet. I traveled with my girlfriends. And then in September, which was 4 months after we initially met, I remember thinking, okay, I did the single girl thing. Like I'm ready to like commit. You know, he came, he met my mom and we dated. So I kind of had an idea of who this person was. And then I told him like, hey, I think I'm ready to take our relationship to the next level, you know, and see
for
what
context
this...
for me, can we say the person's name and give me context?
It's up to her.
Yeah, Alki. Alki's his name. So Alki, I said to him like, I'm ready to take this relationship to the next level and see where it goes. So he flew in the next day and proposed with like an 8
And
carat.
did you have context of him and who he was and what he was doing, or it was just...
Yeah, so he's been acting and there's, you know, if you were to Google his name, like he's on the internet. So I was able to do some background research on like who this person was. And obviously...
the internet only says the nicest of things.
Only.
Yeah.
And, but we kept in touch and we traveled and he took me to Greece and like we definitely did things together before this was like him flying in to propose. But he flew into my mom's house and I was sleeping in my old bedroom with him and he proposed that night.
So you're 24, you get an 8 carat ring. What happens to your life after this? Like it drastically changes. You move to Beverly Hills. Like what is that like?
Like a dream. I mean, Beverly Hills is a dream, period, especially pre, 2019. And I remember my dad and my grandparents, when they got the call that I was engaged, being like, that's awesome, but to who? Like nobody knew that I was also dating this person and now engaged. And a month later, he was in LA and he had children and had to like pack up that life and figure out what he was going to do. And we both wanted to move to LA and he had lived there in the 90s. And so we packed up and I moved for the first time out of my mom's house cross country to Beverly Hills. And it was crazy. And he bought me a Bentley. And all of a sudden I was in this life of like somebody's dream. It was like a dream. I always wanted to move to LA. And I always wanted a Bentley. Like there was things, as you're young and growing up, like you have dreams like, oh, I see that. I want that when I'm older. And like all of a sudden I was living all of these things that I had wanted so badly in my life.
When you look back and you had wanted all these things and you were like, oh my gosh, you have all these things now. You have the house, you have the Bentley, you have all these different things. Did you feel at that moment that you were happy, you're young, or looking back, what is that like?
So honestly, like we had a really good relationship. We never bickered. He was 40, so he was 17 years older than me. So he was 42 at the time that we met. But he was so young at heart. And like we really did have a good relationship. He has his own issues. And ultimately, that's why we ended up separating and are no longer together. But I mean, we traveled. You really have to enjoy the person that you're with. If you're spending so much one-on-one time with them and traveling the world in these, I was going to his houses. He had houses all over the world. And it's not that I was going to these hotels and mingling with other people. I was with him and his people and his family and his staff. And you really have to like the person that you're spending this time with to be able to fully be in and enjoy your life too. For me, at least, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy my time if it wasn't with somebody I didn't want to be with.
What was the juxtaposition between Westchester, New York and Beverly Hills when it comes to like all of the things that are going on? Like, were you shocked to see the plastic surgery and all the different things in LA when you're 24 years old?
I mean, they have these things in New York, Lynn.
No, but this is a different time, Michael. This is not
2009.
now, Michael. This is a completely different, right?
This is even pre-Instagram. There was no Instagram then.
So it was different. Am I right that it's totally different worlds at
It
the
was
time?
totally different. Yeah, I knew only a few girls that had gotten their boobs done, I being one of them at 18. I had always wanted a nose job. So like he flew me out to his doctor in San Diego and I had my first nose job and I went even bigger with my boobs. So, I didn't even know what Persian was until I moved to Beverly Hills. So I'm from Westchester, New York. I grew up in White Plains. They call it the second city, but compared to like California and Beverly Hills, it's still quite small. Like I went to preschool through high school with the same group of kids. So, it's much different in LA.
Completely different.
Yeah.
At what point do you start creating content and how does the internet come into play with this life that you're living?
So blogs started to become like a thing. And I thought this would be awesome for me to just, I had a lot of time on my hands, by the way. This would be awesome for me to like blog about my life and share this new life that I've been brought into. Whether my plastic surgery blog was like my biggest blog, it had the most hits. And I was like, I'm going to share exactly where I get my injections and what I'm doing and what the celebrities are doing. Cause now I was in this world, like my dermatologist was Dr. Lancer. Megan Fox goes to Dr. Lancer. There's so many celebrities. And I felt like that was so cool, like being brought into this world. And now I'm here too, getting my hair done next to, oh my God, Cameron Diaz. You know, like these were things. Like I went shopping in Whole Foods on a daily and Halle Berry was there. Like those were things pre-Instagram and everything that were like, oh, where am I? It was a total dream.
It was completely different.
Yeah.
So what happens when Instagram launches for you? Because your Instagram was one of the accounts that I felt like went wild.
Yeah, my Instagram definitely took off. I just shared everything and anything at that time. It wasn't so like, I don't think you had to be so perfect back then. And the aesthetic wasn't, you know, how it is today. And that fed my blog and my blog fed my Instagram account. And it did really well. It took off. I don't even think stories were there when we all first started having Instagram. But
I also feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong, a string for you up even until now has been, you've always been really entrepreneurial, no matter how much money you had around you. It seems to me you've always wanted to like run your own business.
yeah, I didn't have to work and I chose to. Like I was starting a swimwear line. It was always something I wanted to do. So now I had the means to do it and I did it and I focused on it and it did so well. I did Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week and then I ended up joining with a girlfriend of mine that I met out there, Lily Galici. So she had a swimwear line. I had a swimwear line. We became friends and we were like, if you can't beat them, join them. So we joined the lines. It became Have Faith Swim Jure and it did so good. It was really such a fun time.
So at what point do you start to realize that your marriage is not working and that you want out?
So there were things that I like to call main events that happened in my relationship. There was a lot of things that happened in the 7 years that we were together, but there were 3 main events where I had caught him in different situations that I just felt like they really chipped away at the foundation that held us together. And by the 3rd time, I don't think I even cried. I was just like, my heart's done. Like, I'm just done. But here I had a 1.5-year-old and an almost 3-year-old. And I was like, what am I doing and where am I going with these 2 babies and this big life? Like, what am I going to do? So I ended up, well, this is kind of where I met Danielle. So I was Danielle's client for 2 years prior. I had Nico at 6 months and she was running this pet lifestyle center in Beverly Hills where I would take my dogs. I had 4 dogs. I had 2 Dobermans and 2 little ones at the time. And so she was taking care of my 2 little dogs and we were just clients and it was purely professional. And, you know, I had always noticed women growing up, even as young as like middle school. And I always wondered like what it would be like, or, you know, will I ever get hit on by another female? And I never did until I was in college where I ended up having a little bit of a connection and fling with my best friend in college. But other than that, I've never really experienced what it was like to be in a female relationship. And so I had seen Danielle and I was like, you know, she's really cute. She has half of her head shaved and she's got a tongue ring. So anyone over the age of like 21 with a tongue ring has to be a lesbian. Like that's like what went through my mind. And so I ended up messaging her on the side and kind of just off of like it wasn't like a professional. It was more like a friendly, like, hey, been thinking about you and you know, would love to like chat or something just to see like where it went. And it ended up going 7 hours that night. And we had such a connection that it was like undeniable for me. And so I wasn't sure where this was going to go or what was going to happen. I had no intention on leaving my ex. And I remember going up to him and saying like, hey, you know that I've always kind of been interested in like what this is with like women. He always used to joke like, oh, my wife's bisexual. And I was like, well, do you mind like if I see what that is? And he was like, no, as long as they don't have a penis, I don't care. And I was like, okay. Like went back, told Danielle, and this kind of opened up like Pandora's box in a sense that it was great while it was great. And then once he saw the connection between us, it was undeniable. And that's where the jealousy started to kick in. And it was ultimately I had to make a decision what I was going to do.
I think that this is an interesting conversation because I actually think that what you're describing happens a lot more than people talk about. Like, I think there are actually a lot of women that I've heard off air and on air leaving their husbands for a woman. Have you talked about that on Instagram and have you gotten that response?
So sometimes I'll do like a question box on Instagram and I'll get a lot of questions, especially in the beginning, like, what is that like? How did you know? You know, I'm in the same boat. I just think like, yes, there's an element of I really must be bisexual if I'm with a woman enough to be able to be with just a woman, right? Because I have friends that grew up and never even kissed a girl just for fun. Um, I think that if you have a connection with someone and you're also attracted to them,
Like the energies attract.
totally. Like we had a connection that I didn't even know I could have. You know, it was like my best friend plus somebody I was attracted to all in one.
I had a little staycation a couple weeks ago. Resort Pass is actually local in Austin and it was so cute. We had the best time. We ate fruit plates, we had ice cream with lots of sprinkles. We also played in the water. There's like a water fountain there. We laid out, we read, we relaxed. We had amazing service and I would highly recommend it if you're looking to do something fun in Austin. Resort Pass provides exclusive day passes to luxury hotel pools, cabanas, and spas without needing to stay overnight. Resort Pass partners with over 1,300 of the world's best hotels. The one that I went to was the Omni in Austin, 10 out of 10. Some of their day passes start as low as $25. So definitely go and check it out because you can literally transform an average day into an escape. I mean, my kids were talking about it like all day before we got there. And then after we left, they absolutely loved it. It felt like we were in this like luxurious hotel, but not spending the night. It was a great way to like reconnect, recharge, have fun. We put our phones away. I literally took a couple pictures and then threw my phone in my bag and read my Kindle. And it was absolutely amazing. Resort Pass is really the best kept secret. Definitely check out if they're in your town. Or if you're going to come to Austin, then you have to grab Resort Pass. It's such a no-brainer. It's hot here and it's absolutely perfect. Visit resortpass.com/skinny to get $20 off your first Resort Pass experience. That's resortpass.com/skinny. When you're in LA in this high lifestyle with someone who is really well known and then you fall in love with a woman, what was that like? Like, was LA, your friends, your family receptive to that?
So my family definitely took it a little bit as a shock. They didn't know that I was bisexual. And so I was kind of like the gem of the family. I had it all going on. I had 2 kids. I was successful. I lived in Beverly Hills. I had all these things that I think any parent would probably hope for, except for my marriage and my relationship was failing. And I was now coming out in a sense that I'm with a woman. And I think more than anything, they were just nervous for my financial security and what this was going to look like. And then, of course, for my ex, like he's from a very prominent Greek family. And so here I am leaving this man for a woman. Like that's really got to take a toll on his ego. And it did. 2016 was probably the worst year of my life.
Because he went wild over it?
I mean, wild. We had to like move out of our Beverly Hills house, which we were going to sell anyways. We moved into a Malibu house, which we were renting right on the water to see if we could like reconcile our relationship for 2 months. And it was just horrible. I had trackers on my car. I couldn't leave the house. I felt like my cell phone was even tapped. I'm sure he was going through it. Like I felt like I was in jail at that point.
So what time did you say enough is enough?
I met Danielle in February. In June, I was moving out into Malibu house. June and July, August, he went to Greece and I ended up renting a house in Palisades and moved the kids in and myself. So it was kind of like that time span that all of this went down.
And just simultaneously to give Michael and the audience the full context of what you were going through, talk to us about what you went through with your pregnancies because what happened to you was wild.
Well, I had both of my kids in London, first off. He's British, Greek British. So both of my kids were born in London. So with Nico, I felt like when I got pregnant is when I started my like natural and like health conscious journey. I wasn't aware of chemicals and things in makeup and skincare and products and detergents even until I became pregnant with my first son, Nico. And at that point, I changed my world completely. I threw out everything. I went to Whole Foods. I was reading the labels, and so I gained 75 plus pounds during my pregnancy. I think I stopped getting on a scale when I was like 196 pounds. And mind you, before that, I was like 110. So I gained a lot of weight. It took a mental toll on me. I was living in London, which was amazing, right down the street from Harrods, but I had no friends and no family and no support. So I think I just read books, educated myself, and I gained a lot of weight. I did get a doula, and I had a raw placenta smoothie at the hospital with my kids. I literally ate it raw in like a bullet blender with raspberries and blueberries. And
I didn't know that was an option, Jen. I thought you could just do the pills.
I had to like carry that thing, the placenta, out in
I
a
only
special
got the
case.
pills. I would like a raw placenta smoothie next time if I have another baby.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. And my kid's father drank it also, which was pretty cool.
What does it do for the man?
I don't know. I think he just wanted to feel like involved, and he's kind of crazy that way. So we both enjoyed it. And then I also encapsulated the rest of it too, which I had up until a few years ago. It probably has an expiration on it. So.
And then what happened? Was it post-pregnancy or during pregnancy?
So which one? Because Danielle and I tried to have a child together, which I lost. So I don't know if you're talking about.
I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
I felt like you had like preeclampsia. Why do I feel?
Oh, so yes. So when I think this was with Tino, my ankles and my feet got so big that like I could push into my skin and it would like hold my fingerprint like a Tempur-Pedic mattress. So I think it's called edema. I did not have preeclampsia, but I was close to it. And so they induced me early. I think Tino was maybe 37 weeks. In Europe, they tend to do C-sections at 38 and a half weeks. And because my first son was frank breech, which means bottom down and feet up, and Tino came 6 months after, I had to have another C-section according to them. So, he was born at, I think, 37 weeks. And I think he should have baked a little bit more.
It's so hard. And the weight gain, I feel you. I mean, I'm the same way. It's like, I felt like it's almost like an identity crisis.
Totally. I didn't even want to be social. I felt so embarrassed. Here's all of my beautiful friends that gained like 15 pounds in their pregnancies and looked amazing. And then I'm like a house still at like 3 months post. And yeah, it takes a toll on you for sure.
But I mean, you look amazing now. So
thank you.
Whatever you've been doing is working.
Thank you.
So at what point do you guys decide to move to Boca?
So after all of my stuff with the court happened, I had to file for a move away. And because of my ex's erratic behavior in court, they granted it to me.
What did he do in court?
He's just kind of not the most well-behaved in court, to say it nicely.
Like yelling or screaming or?
For sure. All of the above. And he's gotten thrown out a few times. So I got my move away granted, and I just felt like Florida was going to be an easier life for the change. You could get a lot more for your money, and I had family closer there. It was an easier trip from New York to Florida. Yeah, it was a really good move for us. The timing was really good.
When you get there, at what point of this journey do you decide you're going to explant?
So when we left California, it was 2018, and I was living in New York in the house that I had owned while we built the Florida location. And I remember I was going to downsize because here I was with these 500cc implants, and I'm like, I don't really need these big boobs anymore. I want to downsize.
Mine were 400 and they were huge. 500's big.
Huge. Well, but I also didn't really have boobs to start with, so I feel like you take yours plus the implant. So I was like a small D for my body. But so I had posted on Instagram that I was thinking of downsizing, and somebody messaged me and was like, well, have you heard about breast implant illness? And I was like, no, what's that? And I Googled the symptoms, and I was like, this is me. And I didn't even know it. Like how I didn't know like my brain fog or my memory loss or my swollen hands or me just feeling like lethargic. I didn't know I thought this was just me aging at whatever age I was, 35. Like I had no idea that this was being caused by something. And so overnight I did research, and I think I said to Danielle the next day, like, I'm going to remove my implants. And she was like, what? Why? And I told her, and she was like, okay. Like, she was just so supportive. And I think that that was really important too, because, you know, it becomes part of you. And there's like an attraction thing also. Like, I worried, you know, would she still be attracted to me? I didn't know what I was going to look like after, you know, I knew what I looked like before.
It's so crazy though, because when Lauren went through that, all these, like, I want to say this nicely, but I couldn't understand why she was carrying around inflammation, because we're so healthy, like we're pretty healthy.
Why do you say it
Yeah.
nicely? Just say it and
Well,
let it
because-
rip.
And I was like, I'm like, you shouldn't be this age with these symptoms and this tired. And like now we've had all these podcasts and all these people talking about this, but still to this day, if you say breast implant illness, like people still like discredit it.
I had him since I was 18. Like you, it was just time to.
No, but
Get 'em
I
out.
mean, from the attraction standpoint, like when she told me, I was like, if this helps you get rid of the symptoms and helps you get rid of inflammation, like of course, like I don't want my wife to be running around being inflamed. I don't think a lot of like people understand like that if you carry that much inflammation, like you're going to have chronic illness the rest of your life.
I didn't even realize I had inflammation until I recently just posted a video of me like 6 days out from my surgery. And I was obviously 5 years younger, and my face was so swollen and round, and just, I looked swollen, and I never really thought it affected me that way also. It was wild looking at it.
When you decided you wanted to get an explant, what were the steps that you took? What was the surgery like? What was the aftermath like?
So this was 5 years ago. So I feel like the whole explant community has really evolved since then. I remember looking up the top doctors for explant surgery, and Dr. Lujin Feng came up as Yolanda Hadid's doctor, and Crystal Hefner as well. And I was friendly with Crystal Hefner, and I reached out to her, and I ended up booking with Dr. Feng right away. And so I think it was maybe like a 6-month wait period at that time. And I had flown to Cincinnati, I think is where she's located, and did my surgery there.
And what was it like when you woke up, and what was the recovery like?
So going in, I didn't even shed a tear. Like, I just felt like this is what I really had to do, and this was what felt right for me. And I was like, I hope just all these random symptoms that I'm feeling go away. And sure enough, the moment I woke up, they did. And I remember the first thing I thought was, I could breathe. And
That's
I
the
had,
first thing she said to me.
yeah, like I had an M block, which is where they remove the entire capsule. And she had to scrape my ribs as well because they had adhered to my rib cage. And she explained it that like when the scar tissue adheres to your ribs, you're not able to contract as you breathe. And so many women don't realize it. She also did a breathing test while I was there. And I think that my lungs were like that of a 60-year-old. And here I'm 35. Like, that was really scary.
So when you get the explant, I know there's lots of different feelings that you get afterwards. I mean, it's like, it's a journey,
Yes, for
right?
sure.
It's definitely a journey. What did you feel like throughout that journey?
So I felt okay, and I documented the whole thing because I knew that this was such a big deal. Like, I was a swimwear model. I modeled my own brand. I lived in Beverly Hills, like a plastic surgery capital of the world, right? And so here I am removing my boobs that were so much a part of me since I was 18, gave me so much confidence, opportunities in life. And I was totally okay removing them. And I was okay with what I was going to look like after. And I showed myself in these raw moments of being bandaged with my drains, without my drains, with my scar, you know, putting my side by side before and after. I was really okay. I was mentally prepared for what this was going to be and look like. And I really think having, like I said, a supportive partner with you that you know is still going to look at you and think that you're beautiful and attractive was really important.
Do you feel, and I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this, but do you feel like maybe removing the implants was like cathartic to almost leaving your old life in Beverly Hills and LA behind? Like it was almost like, it was like you keep saying that you keep associating the implants with Beverly Hills and the plastic surgery, and it's almost like leaving there almost was like liberating to like get the breasts out. It's almost like very parallel to your journey.
Yeah, in a sense, I never really thought of it that way, but in a sense, yeah. Like, I was definitely removing something that I associated with, like, oh, I need these boobs. I live in California. I need to, you know, be up to par with everyone else, so to speak. And yeah, but I was totally comfortable and confident with having nothing. I almost felt sexier in a sense without them. And when I received them and I looked at them in my hand, I was like, I felt sad. Like, this is what I had in my body. Like, how desperate was I to like fit in and have confidence to put this plastic ball in my body? It was really crazy.
When she handed me the ones that she took, I was like, whoa. Like they're
It's heavy.
They're huge.
Heavy. Yeah, it's heavy.
You left your tits behind in LA too. But I guess you took them out here. It's like a thing. You leave Beverly Hills, you're like, here are my tits.
Take them back.
Take them back.
I left the blonde hair behind too. I left it
I
behind.
like the brown.
At this point when you removed your implants, were you still talking to your ex, or are you guys not talking? Are you friends at this point?
So we've always had to keep in touch and in communication because of the children. Obviously, he does not live in the States anymore. He lives overseas. So we do share custody in a sense of like, I have them full time, but then they go to see him in the summers or after Christmas for like New Year's. So yeah, there's a little bit of communication.
You and Danielle seem like you guys have a really healthy, strong relationship. What is that like for you now? Like, what are the things that you just had noticed such a difference with such a healthy relationship?
Well, I mean, it's my first female relationship. So that was like such a trip to begin with. You know, like I remember thinking in my bathroom and my vanity, it was all female products all across and like no longer any men or like no hair on the floor.
Yeah, that's
like,
nice that there's no like
you don't ever miss
pubes.
the,
I would not miss. This is what I would not miss. I would not miss the pube clippings in the toilet. I would not miss the water that you saw
You'd miss them,
all
Lauren.
over the bathroom.
If I was
would
gone, you'd be
not
like, where's
miss
that?
the floss that you leave and the floss picks that you leave on
Okay,
the
listen.
fucking counter.
Let's be dead honest in here.
Let's.
As honest people. Women are way messier than men. Have you walked into the bathroom when you
Yeah,
come
that's
home from
true.
a trip and there's stuff in the sink
Yeah, but-
everywhere?
Yeah.
It's like that meme where it
there's
says like put the
something-
toilet seat down and then there's just like chaos everywhere. That's you. And then once every month she'll get a wild hair up her ass. Like, I got to clean everything to the point. And then she'll look over and say, oh my God, there's a piece of hair there. But for weeks on end, there's shit piled up everywhere.
I still,
honest.
yeah, men are like more dirty.
If someone ran over to our house right now and saw her sink,
The sink's not great right now.
we have our
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
it's
do.
all right. I would miss the piles if they were gone.
Okay.
Just as you would miss the pubes in the
What
toilet.
has it been like being in a healthy, happy relationship? As someone who's like follows you on Instagram, that's what it looks like.
Right. So we do have such a great relationship. It's like my best friend and my partner all in one. So that's like awesome. We do everything together. So it's like when there's girls' night, like we're still together. It's not me leaving to go out with my girlfriends and she goes out with hers. It's like we're all together. But when you PMS together, I mean, I'm being so nice right now, but it gets ugly. Like we joke around that we're like getting a divorce every month. And those are the things that you probably don't see on Instagram. We love each other, but we definitely have our PMSing moments. And when we PMS together,
But do you feel, because you both know what's going on, that like, because I feel in the dark when that's going on. I don't know what's happening. I don't even realize, like I'm not tracking when. It's like something's in the air and it's just, I'm like, what's happening? But don't you maybe like, okay, we both understand what's happening here?
So it's easier said than done. We do say to each other, like, aren't you PMSing? Like we kind of know where each other's schedules are at this point. I'm always late. So there will be like an overlap somewhere along the way, but we try our best to be like, hey, let's like tone it down and remember that we're just PMSing right now. And we don't really feel like these heightened emotions and whatever, but sometimes it's just.
If I said that to Lauren during the time, which would not go well for me. I said, let's just remember.
Honestly,
right
I
now.
could use when I'm PMSing, just leave the house for
What
3
did you
days.
say? I'm going to say, let's just remember what's going on right now. You're not being yourself. This is heightened emotions.
You mentioned earlier your fertility journey with Danielle. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that's been like? Because that's a huge commitment. I mean, it's a big deal. I don't think people realize how big of a deal a fertility journey is.
Yeah.
I don't even realize. I mean, it seems like a lot.
Right. So when I first got pregnant with my first son, I was so thin that I was actually having trouble conceiving. And I had to go to a fertility clinic, but I didn't go as far as IVF. I was able to just monitor my cycle. I think I did Clomid and I tried naturally with my ex at the time and we conceived naturally. So I kind of had a little idea of what was involved, but 2 females trying to have a baby, it's all science, right? It's like love and science. And we really wanted it to feel like it was both of ours. And so in doing that, we did something that's called reciprocal IVF. And so that was where Danielle did the first part, which is the egg retrieval. And then she had her eggs fertilized. And then once it was into an embryo, it would be put into me and I would be the carrier. So then we would kind of both feel like we were involved in the process.
So just so I'm clear, it's someone's sperm, Danielle's egg, and then it would be implanted into
me.
you.
So essentially I was like the oven.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's like everyone's involved.
Everyone's involved.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And it took our first time. And at 10 weeks, we went for a 10-week checkup. And this would have been when we found out what we were going to have. And we walked in there and they started the ultrasound. And now I have 2 children prior, so I kind of know what I'm looking at on the screen. And I'm looking at the baby and I'm like, there's no movement on the screen.
Oh.
And Danielle's like, so what's this? What's that? Tell me what's this? And the nurse is like, oh, these are the hands and these are the feet and this is the belly and blah, blah, blah. 5 minutes of video footage, literally I have, that I'm like, well, I don't see any movement. Like, are you sure that this is okay? And she was like looking and she was like, I don't see a heartbeat. And like, we both just dropped and like looked at each other. And it's like, nobody wants to hear those words when you're pregnant and you're going in for an ultrasound at 10 weeks. And so what I had was considered a miscarriage. So it's when the child just dies inside of you, but there's no external signs of a miscarriage. I had no idea. And I didn't even know what this was. And literally she's like, I guess we'll have to schedule you for a D&C. I didn't even know what a D&C was. Like, these are things that they never talk to you, about. And so I chose to see if my body would naturally expel of the fetus. And I waited 2 weeks. And at that point, it still hadn't come out. And then there could be deterioration, which could then lead to infections. And so I ended up going to get scheduled for a D&C, but I caught COVID at the time. And yeah, it was 2021. 2021. And so they gave me abortion pills to take at home while I had COVID, because I guess when you go under, you can't get, what is it called?
Intubated.
Intubated. And so I ended up having COVID, took the abortion pills, and I bled out so much and I was so weak between the virus and this that I passed out on the toilet with my son standing there. Danielle had just ran to go get me something to eat and I hit my head. It's going to sound bougie as fuck, but I hit my head on the bidet next to me and it split my head. And so here I am now bleeding. My son's there, doesn't know if I'm bleeding from my head or what is actually happening. And
that's so traumatic, not only for you, but for your son and for you.
Yeah, everyone. It was not a good time at all. And so we had to call the ambulance. I spent 3 days in the hospital. They had to give me an epidural because, again, I had COVID. So they gave me an epidural to perform an emergency D&C. It was just a nightmare. It was not fun at all.
One of the most that was a terribly fucked up story, but like fucked up things about this whole COVID thing is like the way they handled all of these situations is such a mess.
Horrible. I lost my uncle during COVID and my aunt was not able to see him in the hospital for his last hours. It was just, that time I think for everyone was just like.
They're going to look back on that time in the future and be like, this was one of the dumbest times in human history.
Dumbest. I mean, can we talk about the mask? Whenever I see photos now, I'm just like, what were we thinking with the gloves and the Lysol on the bags? But we don't have to get into that.
Oh, trust me. We've got into it on this enough where they're probably like, move the fuck on.
The way that I wore the mask was like,
listen, I will never
hanging off like a limp dick. I'm not wearing a mask.
I will
I'm masked
never,
out.
ever forget or forgive these nutcases during that time. I'll be bringing it up till I'm 100 years old.
What about when they would drive in the car with the mask on and you're like, you're literally in the car alone. I can't. I'm also not going to breathe fiberglass from the mask into my lungs. Like, I'm sorry. No thanks.
Right.
Anyway. Nothing worse than people that wanted medals for being cowards.
Next time you come on the podcast, we can discuss that. So going through all of this, there are a lot of people listening who are going through fertility treatments or have had miscarriages. I guess, I don't know if there's advice, but what did you sort of learn throughout this entire process?
What I learned was that I think the statistics are like 1 in 4 women have a miscarriage, and that is really high. And I don't think that a lot of women talk about it, whether it's because they're embarrassed and feel like they've done something wrong to not be able to carry or to have lost this child. I just think talking about the experience more and sharing that is definitely helpful for everyone that's going through IVF and fertility, period. That's kind of helped us, is just sharing our story. We created a YouTube and we kind of told everyone and showed the whole thing. So
Was IVF difficult?
I think it's emotionally takes like an emotional toll, especially for like Danielle in the first part. I did a whole different thing, which was just preparing my body to carry, which is more like progesterone and some other shots. And the needles are like this big.
I heard.
Have to go in your butt. Yeah.
It's like a baseball bat.
It's huge. It wasn't so bad, especially if you use an ice pack and numb the area. But for her, you have to go on birth control first to get yourself on like the specific cycle. Then you have to do these hormones and injections every day. It's a lot. I give a lot of women so much credit that are going through this multiple times. There's women that are like, oh, 5th time IVF, 8th time IVF. I'm like, how? I couldn't
we
do
have
it.
a friend that did it.
Molly.
No, not just Molly. Christine Chu came on. She was in Bling Empire, the show Bling Empire, and she did it 13 times.
Can't.
Yeah.
So much credit.
13
it's
times.
so wearing.
But
and
she
taxing.
got her miracle baby.
Well, then
So,
it's worth it.
Yeah. So I would love to talk about what you're working on now, because what you're doing is absolutely amazing for so many women. So talk to us about where this idea transpired, what it is, all the things.
So I just launched my, what I call passion project turn life project, Original Self, on the 8th. So I did it on 8/8 Lionsgate. And it is a company geared and focused around explant and mastectomies. And I feel like there's really no companies out there that have tapped into this market and really focused on the explant girlies and mastectomy women. Now, mastectomies have been around forever, and so have bras and things and prosthetics, but they're like up to here, full coverage. They look so matronly and frumpy. And I just felt like this cannot be the only solution for girls who have removed their breasts or implants and now have to wear a bra with prosthetics. So I thought, I'm going to create one. I used to have a swimmer line and I could do this. Like, what's creating a bra? And so I know how to sew, and I took a few bras and started to make them together and sew them together, and bought a few prosthetics that are already out there and cut them and sewed them and made them into what I wanted them to be, and created this bra. And so I call this the OG bra. It's the first and the original one, and it's made to hold different inserts. And I have 3 different inserts that I sell on the site. The thickest is our Maxi Boost, and that's actually what I wear and I have on because I'm left with nothing. And this gives me like what I feel like is a nice full B or C. And then I have a midi size insert that's for women who have explanted and have maybe like a little bit of tissue. And then the mini size, which is more for like if you want just like a boost and you still have a little bit of boob left.
What has the response been to this? Because this is a really unique niche category.
It's been so well received. I mean, I've only sent out product to a few influencers.
Candace, our mutual friend Candace loves it.
Candace has been amazing.
She explanted too, just so you guys know, and she loves it.
Yeah, and she's such an advocate for women who are going through that, including the mastectomy community. And the videos and the candid footage that she shares, like, she has been so incredible. And so has all of the other girls that I have sent the bra to, like their videos of them and how happy they are to like feel that volume and fullness and have cleavage again and be able to wear like a deep V-neck shirt with this bra. Like, that's done it for me. This is why I did it. I did it as much for me as I did for them.
I think this is like very, very innovative. I'm very excited about it. And maybe at the end we can give a code. I didn't even ask you.
Absolutely.
I do have to ask you this. There's something that I would just love to know that you're really passionate about. That's clean, non-toxic. I think you, and you mentioned this earlier in the episode, were one of the first influencers that I saw that started to clean out. You mentioned ingredients, going to Whole Foods, just really cleaning out. What are the products that you use on a daily basis to maintain that clean lifestyle?
So I've loved Symbiotica for a really long time, since Chervin came out with the first product, which was like astaxanthin and like EPA or something. I've followed their journey this whole time, and I still genuinely love and use their products. I also started using this company called RHO, and I use their liquid NAD. I I really like their product. I don't really like to do needles and IVs. So anything that I can get that's like already, done into a liquid, I try to.
Wellness, beauty. What are your tips? You have so many tips on your Instagram.
So I think my favorite, most kept secret that I have is going to be this product called Nano Blur. When you go out at night to a club or a restaurant and you see girls and they just look like they have glaze on their face with their makeup. So this literally, it's like the last step of your makeup and you pat it on. And I hope I look matte right now, but it's supposed to just keep you completely matte. And it has never failed me. And that is, I never really talk about it because I never wanted to sell out, but I'm not going to gatekeep it. So that's my number one makeup tip is like, pat that on at the last stage. I think they used it in the show Euphoria. I had read it somewhere and that's how I found it.
Hair, nails, morning routine. What are all your little go-tos that you do?
So I actually have given my nails a break for the past 6 or 7 months. I haven't even had like a manicure. I do it myself and they became so hard from not wearing gels and not having tips or anything. And I felt like I just really wanted to have a break for my nails. So I've gone completely natural for like 7 months, not even a clear top coat. You could just shine them up, put some olive oil and like massage it in there.
Michael's like, what are you guys talking about? Michael, just get with the program, get some olive oil.
Because I don't know. Because
You
do
don't know about
they get
nails.
brittle or something if you do stuff like this?
Yeah.
They're like paper thin.
Yeah, they get paper thin when you put gel on them.
Yeah. So I do that and I'll massage some like cuticle oil or whatever.
I feel like you have all these concoctions on your Instagram, like different waters and things.
I'm always just doing something, even for beauty. I will say one thing that I do, and this is just what I do. I'm not giving medical advice. I wear a waist trainer to bed every single night.
Stop.
So this is not Lycra. It's not, it's literally mesh. And I don't wear it, like it's not so tight, but it's enough to like hold me in and keep me in. And I feel like my waist is almost back to pre-baby. I measured it the other day and it was 23.5 inches. It was 23 before kids.
What, you have to text me the link to this
I
so
will.
I can put it in
and
the
it's
show.
not sponsored. Like I pay for all of my products from them. But
is it like a waist trainer that's like a tight one that like kind of makes you sweat? Or is it like a waist trainer that's like a corset situation?
It's like a corset. It buttons up with one zipper and it's made out of mesh. And it's like, I can stretch it and it's breathable. Some people say you're not supposed to do it, but I believe that like if you have water running down rocks long enough, the water is going to carve its mark into the rock. And that's how I feel like it is with my body. If I wear it long enough, it's going to shape my body and keep my waist tiny. So.
That makes sense. I did, after I had both my kids, I did belly binding where they come and they bind you like there's like a technique. And it makes such a difference for the uterus shrinking back. Sorry, Michael, just go with it. No, Michael's
you forgot I bound your belly.
Oh, okay. He wants to put his little 2 cents in.
I learned how to do it. I learned how to tie the thing.
You did. Okay. So I can see how doing it every night in a little way, like it doesn't sound like it's extravagant.
No,
it sounds like you're like zipping something up.
Yeah.
Would make a difference, especially after you've had kids because the uterus does expand.
Yeah, totally. And I thought I was going to have one more child, honestly. And so I never went and had like a mini tummy tuck or a tummy tuck to like make my muscles go back together. So I still have that space. I feel like this just helps keep me everything in. And another thing I do is castor oil on my stomach before I do it. So I sleep in only cotton and I'll put it on my stomach all over. Then I'll put my cotton like PJ outfit on top and then I'll put the corset on top of that.
Danielle knows when that castor oil comes out and you put on that waist trainer, not to fuck with you. I got to get you some mouth tape. You will be unavailable. It's like a do not disturb.
Yes, she's going to love that along with my red light mask.
Yeah. I put on my lip tape. He tried to talk to me last night. I was like, nope, call a friend.
Listen, I don't just need the mouth. It's fine.
No.
It's actually honestly sometimes better if you tape that thing up.
I'm going to get vagina tape. So that is gone too.
One of those like old like chastity belts.
What is in Jennifer Stano's bag? And this is a beautiful bag. If you're listening and you're not watching, explain what it is.
It is a patent leather Chanel. I don't know, what is it, classic flap jumbo maybe? It's huge.
It's bright. It's orange, patent. Coral, red.
Yeah, coral is a good one.
Coral.
Yeah.
Orange.
Orangey.
I like the color.
I like the color too.
I mean, where do I begin?
Oh my God.
Give
we
us
got-
give
It's
us.
going to take us an hour to
This
get through
is
this.
for TikTok. Show us what's in your bag.
Okay.
Could live out of that bag.
So I always have a mirror with me, and I say mirror. That's like the few things I say that sounds very New York is a mirror. And it has a little bit of like powder for shine. So I just dab that on. Always have to have a mirror. My biggest fear is like having a booger or something stuck in your teeth. So without fail, I will always have a mirror.
Michael,
on
you
me.
should carry that around because Michael has a perpetual pepper in his tooth every day.
If I had a mirror, that wouldn't happen.
Oof, that
Yeah.
pepper could.
Oh my
Lauren, I
gosh.
came in the studio and you had a little friend hanging out of your
That
mouth.
was beef jerky.
Okay.
I always carry some sort of supplement. So like the Symbiotica glutathione.
That's the best glutathione, by the way.
Right. I have my collagen pure. And then I always still suffer with like gut issues and bloating. And so I will always have like a prebiotic, probiotic,
Which one's that?
postbiotic
I've never seen that
on me.
brand.
This one's the Trebiotic Axis. Trebiotic. A hand. What are these? The Touchland hand sanitizer mist thing. Smells
Matches
good.
with your mirror.
We just keep it in there. Oh, of course, the selenite stick for good energy.
Loves it.
I try not to wear a lot of perfume because of like fragrance. So a friend of mine made this like essential oil perfume that's all natural. So I keep this on me. Eye drops. Do you know Typology? It's like an all natural skincare brand from
No, I have to look at it.
France. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with their line. And like, this is their lip, like it's glass. Everything is in like glass and amazing. So this is like a lip oil.
Cute. I
My
love knowing
wallet.
what people's in bags.
I traveled with this.
Oh, that's cool.
Stop! She has her mint
I did. And I
roller.
busted it out at the beach too. Danielle's like, what are you rolling? And I'm like, my face, this is going to make all the water go out.
Love it. That is so cute.
My wallet, hair clip. This is
Cute.
cute. Right, and Amazon. This is the Nano Blur I was telling you about
Love it.
by Indeed.
You have to show your wallet off to everyone. They're going to want to see that.
Okay.
Yellow Chanel, very cute with the orange.
It's like more of a lime green, Lord.
Okay.
Little thing, gum. Oh, phone charger. I see you have these also.
Those are the best.
Can't live without it. A purse. Do you ever use these?
Yes.
I mean,
you got to have one of those. That
Have
was like
to.
elegant women on Instagram. Like one of the things elegant women carry is a purse carrier.
yeah, because some nicer
Because you put that on the
restaurants.
table, right?
Yeah.
Right. Nicer restaurants will have like a bag caddy for you and like bring it to your table. But when they don't, what are you doing with your huge bag? And like the waiters knock into it.
Sometimes I'll like lay a linen napkin on the ground.
That's really smart. I've never thought to do that. And then my phone, obviously.
Super cute. We will link everything that Jennifer has in her bag. Before you go, tell us, you've lived a wild and crazy life. Looking back at your age now with what you've gone through, what advice would you tell your younger self?
Not to care so much what other people are going to think of you. I think that's always been something that I've struggled with is what is someone going to think of me? What are they going to say if I do this? What if I fail? Like, what are they going to say about me? And I think that that's just something that so many people struggle with is like, what are people going to think of me if I do this, if I don't do this, if I say this, if I wear this? So I would tell my younger self not to care so much because at the end of the day, it's really not even going to matter, especially all of the internet people that are, have their internet muscles. Like if they ever saw you in person, they would say nothing to your face.
I think for you, that's very on brand because I feel like you've come so full circle to not caring what anyone thinks and you're living your life on your own terms. And I think that's what's so inspiring about you.
I got so torn apart in 2016 that I think that created the thickest skin that you could possibly have. So
it does create a thick skin. And you start to be like, what else can you say? You've said it all.
And it's all out there. Like, what are you going to say that's not already there?
It creates resilience. I mean, listen, it's a great quality to have when you literally don't care what anyone else thinks. Jennifer, where can everyone find your Instagram, shop the bras, see what you guys are doing on your YouTube, pimp yourself out?
So you can follow me at Jennifer Stano, and my company's name is Original Self, and the acronym is OGSLF. So I use both domains, but OGSLF.com.
Do you want to do a code?
We could do code skinny.
Okay. What do you want to do? It's up to you.
We could give 15 or 20. What do you want to do?
Let's do 15% off.
15%
Code
off.
skinny, 15% off. If I were you guys, the one that I have on the table looks amazing.
The OG
This is
bra.
Yeah, this is the one you're wearing right now.
I do. Yeah, I
Okay.
have it on.
So if you guys want to see what it looks like, you can go to the YouTube channel. Jennifer's wearing it. I'm sure you can also go on Instagram and see it. Michael's copying a feel of the bra.
It's just a natural,
So Michael's popping a boner.
natural instinct.
I'm going to throw this on tonight
Nice.
and we
Yeah,
can
can't
give it
wait
a
to see.
test ride. Yeah,
Ready.
we can try it out. Everyone,
We're going to Miami this weekend.
yeah, we're going alone.
Alone.
Or alone. We're going to have some fun in Miami.
Yep.
You guys go follow Jennifer. She's very honest, very real. I really like following you. I've been following you, like I said, since like 2010, which is wild. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for
Come
making the
back
trip.
anytime.
Thank you for having me.